It's the recap, the final recap of the 2024 competitive marching band season. And boy, has it been a crazy 3 to 4 weeks. We had area competitions or state qualifiers. We had super regionals. We had state competitions. And we had the granddaddy of them all, the Bands of America Grand National Championships held in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, we had hoped to do a lot more videos over the last 2 weeks, but there was just so much band and so little time to record and to edit. It made us consider in the future possibly doing something similar to college football, since that's what we're kind of mimicking here at General Effect Media, doing live shows and then cutting those up and editing them and just kind of like live reacting, still doing research and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it does take long to research and then film and then edit. And if you can cut out one of those, well, we might pump stuff out faster. So something to think about for us next year at General Effect Media here on YouTube. We're going to go back a little bit and we're going to go to the state of Texas because we covered the 1A, 3A, 5A State Marching Band Championships. We covered Bands of America San Antonio. What we hadn't covered yet was the 2A, 4A, and 6A State Marching Championships in Texas. Now, this took place at the Alamodome in San Antonio on November 11th, 12th, and 13th. A reminder, and I do this every time, about how Texas UIL works on any given year. 1A, 3A, and 5A, or the odds, compete in 1 week. 2A, 4A, 6A, or the evens, compete in the other week. 1 week this year, the odds were the week before, and the evens were a week later. Next year, it will flip-flop. So the evens will go a week earlier, the odds will go a week later. We just have so many bands, so much space, so much geography, and only so many domes centrally located. So basically how it works out is you have state marching contest, Bands of America San Antonio Super Regional, state marching contest, Bands of America Grand Nationals, and we're not even including area or regionals or UIL or local contests around the state. So if we start off with 2A. Now, in Texas, we have 6 divisions, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 1A being the smallest, 6A being the largest. That is based on enrollment, 10 through 12. That's right, no 9th graders, because not all schools have 9th graders on their campus. 10 through 12 on a specific snapshot day, which puts you in your classification for all sports that take place in UIL. 2A, we have the 8th time champion Sundown High School winning first. It's their first title since 2011, however, of the 5 judges. Now, we do 5 judges for 1A, 2A, 3A, 7 judges for 4A, 5A, 6A. In 1, 2, and 3A, we have 3 music judges, 2 visual judges. Sundown wins 2 of those judges, with Ganado High School placing second in their first ever finals. In third place was Rivercrest High School, winning 2 first place judges. And then we jump to 5th place for Boscoville, who was in their first finals, who also received a first place vote. If we go into 7th place here in 2A, Lockney High School, also in their first finals. Congratulations to those 7 bands making finals in the 2A classification here at UIL State Marching Contest. Now, we do have a differing number of bands that participate in finals. It depends on the amount of bands that qualify for state marching contests. A certain number gives you 7 finalists, gives you 10, gives you 12, gives you 14. Hence why different classifications have a different amount of finalists. If we jump up to the 4A classification, we have 3-time champion, 3-peating Salina High School. Now, they took 3 of the 7 judges. Now, in 4A, 5A, 6A, we have 4 music judges. They judge ensemble, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. We have 2 visual, ensemble, and individual. And then our last judge is considered music and visual. More specifically, though, content and design. No, not general effect, trademark, because general effect is not a caption in UIL. Content and design is the caption, not general effect, trademark. We go into Panther Creek High School, who placed second, who tied their highest placement ever. They got 2 of the first place judges, so we now have 5 judges spoken for. We go to 3rd place Davenport High School, their highest placement ever. They received a first place vote. And then we jump all the way down to 6th place percussion, Cal Allen High School. I just gave it away. Their highest placement. They won percussion in 6th place. Jumping back up to 4th place, Sulphur Springs High School tied their highest placement. Number 7, West Plains High School tied their highest placement, or that is their highest placement. And in 8th place, Gatesville High School places in their first ever state marching finals. Congratulations to all of those bands. 4A was crazy. 4A was great. I was there live to watch a lot of those bands. And man, some great design, some great playing, some great marching. And now to 6A, the largest classification in the great state of Texas. 7 judges, just like 4A. Hebron High School wins their second title. I know, to me, it sounds weird to say Hebron's only won 2 6A titles, but they've been a bridesmaid I don't know how many times. Someone drop it in the comment section down below. They took 3 of the 7 judges in first place. Vandergrift, the 2-time defending UIL state champion, placed second. They took 1 first place caption. Flower Mound, the Bands of America San Antonio Super Regional champion from Saturday, we jumped to Tuesday, placed third. They took 1 of the first place captions. We jumped to 5th place for the Woodlands. They took a first place caption. And then 6th place Marcus took a first place caption. That caption being percussion. The Woodlands took visual ensemble in first. Flower Mound in third took visual individual. Vandergrift took content and design. And Hebron took music ensemble, music woodwinds, and music brass. Now, if we talk about the placements here, and we want to give a shout out to Seven Lakes High School, who placed 14th in their first ever state marching contest finals. Congratulations to them. Now, in 2022, 2 bands tied for state marching contest champion. In 2024, 2 bands tied for state marching champion. Those bands were the exact same bands both years, Vandergrift High School and Hebron High School. Now, this year, Hebron High School ended up claiming first, with Vandergrift claiming second, due to judges' preference. And what that means is, if you look at the 2 of them, how many judges had which band over what, you put it together, and Hebron beats Vandergrift due to judges' preference. Weirdly enough, in 2022, Vandergrift won first place. They broke the tie due to judges' preference. Now, if we look at 2024, which is what we just had, and we look at the 2 captions that might have hurt these groups the most. Vandergrift in second place, getting a 6th place in visual individual. That's their lowest caption, with every other one putting them in first, second, or third. If we go to Hebron High School, all of their captions were in first, second, or third, with the exception of percussion, which was in 9th. 9th place percussion. That being their lowest caption, probably contributed to them tying with Vandergrift rather, and not outright winning. However, Vandergrift's lowest caption of visual individual being 6 probably contributed to them tying with Hebron, and just not quite enough to put them over the top to win their 3rd straight 6A marching title. Now, I want to go back to 2022 because, just like I mentioned, the 2 bands tied. It was Vandergrift and Hebron. And I've got to take my glasses off because the recap is very small. If we look at this, Vandergrift High School, who won that year, they got first in visual individual, visual ensemble. That was it. Hebron High School got first in music woodwinds, 1 subcaption of music brass, and that was it. 3rd place, Cedar Ridge, 1st place in percussion. 5th place, Vista Ridge, 1st place in music ensemble, 1st place in music brass. So you can see that all 5, the top 5, with the exception of, they all did it. They all shared 1st place captions. It was very, very tight. And I mentioned in 2024, this year, the weaknesses of Hebron being percussion and the weakness of Vandergrift being visual individual. Well, let's look at the weaknesses in 2022. Vandergrift High School, 8th place in music woodwinds when the rest of their captions were 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Hebron, all their captions were 1st, 2nd, or 3rd with the exception of percussion, 5th place. Vandergrift 8th, Hebron 5th, 2022. We go to 2024, Hebron 9th, Vandergrift 6th. It was basically kind of flipped in different captions, but both of those amounted to a tie that judges' preference had to break. And now for the Grand National Championships in Indianapolis, Indiana. We had over 100 groups compete and perform. 3 days, 3 full days of marching arts pageantry. It was an exciting time. some foregone conclusions when you look back at the way things go. It kind of wasn't that close at the top. There was a lot of moving around, however, in 2 through below. Let's talk about prelims awards. There's no prelims awards. The prelims rankings. I've got to take my glasses off again because the recap is small. Avon High School, overall winner of prelims. Again, understanding that it's 2 different panels, it's 2 different shows. However, you're going, it's a rubric, and there's a chief judge for each one that's making sure things line up. Avon was your champion of prelims, taking first in all but 2 subcaptions, music performance individual, which went to Broken Arrow, who was 4th in prelims, and music effect 1, also by Broken Arrow. We look at the top. Well, let's just say if prelims were deciding finals, and there was a time when there were only 2 rounds at Bands of America. Avon first, Tarpon Springs second, Carmel third, Broken Arrow 4th, Cedar Park 5th, William Mason 6th, Prosper 7th, American Fork 8th, Leander 9th, Castle 10th, Jenks 11th, and Dobbins Bennett was in 12th. Those would be the 12 bands that advanced to finals, but as you know, there are 3 rounds in BOA, so that didn't happen. What is the craziest thing when I look at this? I will tell you. Spoiler alert, this band made Grand National Finals on Saturday night, but they were 18th. Not just on the outside, they were in a different neighborhood. They might have been in a suburb. Bridgeland High School was 18th place in prelims before performing in semifinals, which eventually moved them into finals. Now, we can say all day what things kept them out. There was a number of subcaptions that had them out of finals, some that had them in. However, in one, no more egregious than visual performance ensemble, 43rd. 43rd. I have always said, and I'm going to do a video on what judges are looking for, what the role of the judge is. But remember, the role of the judge is to get the right bands in. So in semifinals, you're trying to get the top 22 in. What are the best 22 bands out of those over 100? And then the next day, and then class representation. And then you get to semifinals, who are the 12 best? So the judge's job is to get those 22 in. There's going to be some wonkiness. There's going to be some zip coding. And there was for Old Bridgeland High School. But hey, their story had a happy ending. Now we go to Grand National semifinals. Took place Saturday morning, and we're going to do a video where we talk about a band, any band, but this particular band, coming from Texas and playing at 6:45 in the morning on Saturday. That's another message. I love BOA. I love Music for All. I love what they do, but 6:45 in the morning, I would have just slept. But that's just me. All right, so we look at semifinals, and we put them all together, and yes, they do class awards, but if you put them combined, Avon in first, taking all subcaptions but 1, music individual, that going to crosstown rival Carmel High School. They got first. Avon on first, Broken Arrow in second, moving up 2 slots. Carmel in third, they stayed put. Tarpon in fourth, they dropped 2 spots. Cedar Park in fifth, they stayed true. William Mason in sixth, moving up. Castle in 7th, moving up 3 spots. Bridgeland, 8th place. They moved up 10 spots. Woo! American Fork in 9th, dropping 1. Dobbins Bennett in 10th, moving up 2. Prosper in 11th, dropping 4. And Leander, Texas in 12th place, dropping 3. The groups that were in but dropped out, just Jenks High School. Jenks was 14th in semis. They dropped 3 slots. Bartlett, is that right? Bartlett moved up 7 spots. Bartlett moved up 7 spots to 18th place. So they had the biggest improvement other than Bridgeland, who had 10. They improved 10 spots. That is wild. That is wild. Some things that kind of stuck out as positives. O'Fallon Township in 13th, just on the outside looking in on that window, like those memes. They were 11th, 12th, and 9th in music performance. They were close. They were close. Jenks, who was 14, they were 7 in visual ensemble, 11th overall visual, 8th in general effect music 1, 10th in music general effect. Homestead, who was in 15th, music ensemble 9th, visual ensemble 11th, overall visual 11th. Fishers, who finished in 16th, music individual 12, visual individual 9. Brownsburg High School, 10th in music individual, 11th overall music, 12th in visual individual, 10th in overall visual, 11th and 10th in visual and music. Flip it, 11th in music, 10th in visual. General effect looking like the captions that kept them out. Bartlett High School, 8th in music ensemble, 12th in music overall, 9th in general effect music 1, which took us into finals, which if you look at these scores, it was no surprise. It was just a matter of what the subcaptions were going to come out. Avon High School is your 2-time defending Grand National champions. Is this number 5? I think this is number 5 overall after winning 3 in a row and then not winning for 13 years, I believe. They have won 2 in a row. They took all subcaptions except this one is not as decisive. Music individual went to Carmel High School. General effect music overall went to Carmel High School. Everything else went to Avon High School. Avon in first, they were tried and true all the way through. Carmel in second place, moving up 1. Broken Arrow dropping 1 to 3rd. Tarpon stayed put in 4th. Cedar Park stayed put in 5th. William Mason stayed put in 6th. Bridgeland moves up to 7th. 18, 8, 7. Good for them. American Fork jumps back up to number 8. Castle drops 2 slots to number 2. And then Dobbins, Bennett, Prosper, and Leander stay put. Again, if we look at the recaps, what are some of the captions that boosted these groups? Well, Tarpon placed 4th overall, 2nd in visual individual, 2nd overall in visual, 2nd in visual general effect, which I agree. American Fork, they finished 8th overall. They were 6th in music individual and 6th in music effect 2. Castle, 9th overall, 6th in music ensemble, 7th in music, 5th in visual ensemble. Dobbins Bennett, they were 10th overall, 6th in visual effect. Good for them. Prosper, 11th overall, 8th in music effect 1, 9th in overall music effect. And then Leander, Texas, finishing in 12th. They were 9th in individual visual, 9th in music effect 1. Whew, that was a lot. There were some like instances of subcaptions kind of scoring them a little bit out of their range, like 2 or 3 places, more than likely 3 places. But for the most part, it worked out really well. We only had some minor jumping around. Now, I realized that I was not able to make a video where I previewed Grand Nationals. And I know you're going to say you're just putting it this way because you know the results and hindsight's 2020. I'm not lying to you when I say this. I was going to predict, and I'm half right on this, that your top 4 at Grand Nationals was going to consist of the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission, Tarpon Springs, Avon, Broken Arrow, and Carmel. I would have said those 4. And guess what? Those 4 were your top 4. Where I was wrong was I was also going to say that was your order. Tarpon Springs was going to win, Avon, Broken Arrow, with Carmel coming in 4th place. Tarpon got as high as 2nd. That was close. Broken Arrow got as high as 2nd. I was close. Avon never dropped below 1st. And Carmel never got to 4th place. So I was right in the top 4 that I thought was going to be. I was wrong in that the order I was going to pick. I would have said that Cedar Park would be top 6. I would have said that American Fork would have been 12th-ish. They proved me wrong on that one. I thought Castle probably would have been a little bit higher. I thought Bridgeland would get in, but probably be in the bottom half as well. That did not happen. And, it gets real fishy. There are so many things as we call bubble bands in Grand Nationals. The bands that, could they make it in? Yeah, the bubble list is the biggest list, right? I think you could make a case, and I will look at the semifinals list to verify. If you look at the top 17 bands, you have bands that have made Grand National finals recently that did not make finals this time. We go to 13th, O'Fallon, Jenks, Homestead, Fishers, Brownsburg. All those bands have made finals within the last 5 to 10 years, which is recent enough. It's crazy. But what an amazing season of marching band here. Obviously, we try to talk about as much as we can on the recap, This Weekend in Band, etc. And as we move forward into other seasons and whatnot, we really want to make sure that you as the watcher, the commenters, the supporters, all that, y'all feel a sense of contribution and ownership of this stuff, because we at General Effect Media, we love band. We're fans, we're supporters, we're former marching members, we're former designers, we're current designers, current staff members, judges, all that stuff. We love this stuff. And so as we move forward, we would love for you to be more involved in the contributions to what we do here. For all the people that sent us recaps, thank you so much. For all the people that alerted us of contests, thank you so much. For everyone that's commenting in the comment section down below, even if it's self-banned hype, thank you so much. We definitely want to keep that sense of community going between now and then the winter season, the WGI season, into drum corps, and then marching band again. So be sure to comment in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to our Substacks. Be sure to subscribe to our socials. Be sure to reach out and let us know what you think about what we missed, what we didn't miss, what we said, what we didn't say. We can only do so much. I realize that we didn't even touch Indiana marching championships. We didn't touch Florida championships. I literally was there judging, and I didn't talk about it. It's just, we want to get everything in as much as possible and keep it at a reasonable time for a show. So in the future, we will probably do things a little bit differently. We learned a lot this year in terms of maybe doing some live shows or breaking things apart. One of the things we did was This Weekend in Band. One of my goals is to possibly have someone do a This Weekend in Florida, This Weekend in Indiana, This Weekend in Texas. And that way we can break it apart so that we have focus on these areas, and somebody, an expert, if you will, from those areas would be leading the discussions on that and getting different faces in front of the camera here on the GEM YouTube channel. Now, we will be back next week, sometime during the Thanksgiving holiday, where we will be unveiling the final bracket of the marching band playoff bracket. However, this time it's 1 through 64. We will have 4 different regions, basically like NCAA basketball: a North, a South, a West, and an East. We already have most of this list already figured out. We had the rankings and we started messing with them, and we got up to almost 100, and then we started doing it. Now, I will mention this on that video, and I will mention it now. The top 64 aren't the top 64 from Grand Nationals. It isn't like, oh, I got 69th place, so we should be the 69th band, right? That's not how that works. Not every band went to Grand Nationals. We looked at the top people who made whatever placements at Bands of America, and then we said, oh, but what about the Texas bands, or the Florida bands, or the South Carolina bands, or the Western bands, the California bands, the Utah bands? We took a look at all the bands that have had success this year, and we want to put them in a ranking of 1 through 64. Some bands that have done very well in their respective states, in respective Bands of America regionals, in respective TOB, US bands, whatever you want to say. Some bands that have made finals, that stuff won't be on this 1 through 64 list. I promise you, we had to take a hard look. And yes, there is every person who votes or comments or contributes to the ranking does come in with a sense of bias. Obviously, I'm a Texas homer. People from Indiana have Indiana homers. But I will tell you that we had a very spirited discussion today where me, a Texas person, didn't put enough Texas bands on that list. And someone from Indiana goes, I think there needs to be more Texas bands on this list. And he added his share of bands, but also added some bands from the Southeast. I guess depending on how you look at the map, the Southeast, Northeast, from the West, there were some bands because there's a lot of band going on. So be sure to check back next week because we will have a full 1 through 64 bracket that you can print out and you can fill it out and you can submit it and do all that. We will have those links in the Substack. So I would recommend you subscribe to the Substack so that when those videos come out, you will see the brackets. And we will have one large bracket, but then we'll also do 4 separate brackets so that it doesn't get too small and just real messy. So anyway, be sure to look forward to that 1 through 64 bracket, which we'll do next week. And that will truly be the last marching band video of 2024 before we begin our off-season content. Let us know in the comment section down below what kind of off-season content you would like to see from us as we fill the gap between marching band and indoor winter percussion and color guard. Well, that's the last episode of the recap for 2024. Thanks so much for all of your support, all your listens, all your views. We look forward to seeing y'all soon. Happy band to everyone. Good night, 2024 marching.